is today? Sunday.
Sunday.
So that's day
7.
8?
Well, yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't do a testimonial last night because we'll get to that later. So this is going to be 2 days worth of testimonial. So yesterday we left the Belton Chalet and drove from there to the Garnet Ghost Town, which is the most well-preserved ghost town ever, but literally the most well-preserved ghost town in Montana.
It's currently owned and operated by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, the BLM. So apparently they have a little bit better budget than most people to maintain these types of places, but
it was really neat. It had a lot of little buildings and a map that kind of showed exactly what each building was, what it was used for, when it was built, and everything is exactly where it was before. You could walk through almost all of the buildings. A lot of them had kind of artifacts, different things from that time, either that were still left there from the actual town or things that had been donated, I guess, just from that era. That crackling you hear in the background is a fire because it's chilly. It got chilly here. We are in, where are we? Gallatin Gateway.
Big Sky,
Montana, at the 320 Guest Ranch. It is so cute. It's got, we're in our own little cabin. There's tons of little cabins on this property. It's like a cowboy ranch. I mean, they do horseback riding, and they have a little
fly fishing expeditions, horseback riding expeditions,
we just
skiing.
Had dinner at their cowboy steakhouse restaurant. It was good. I mean, John had a cast iron seared bison
tenderloin,
and I had a New York strip steak. It was no Popeyes, let's be honest, but it was good. I did finish the meal with carrot cake. That was to die for.
I had an ice cream sundae, which was pretty dang good too, because it was homemade ice cream.
But we digress. We have to get back. So yesterday we left the Belton Chalet and we went to the ghost town.
After our debacle.
Oh, with the tire. Okay. After the day from Hades the other day with the tire, we ended up going to the tire store and getting the tire patched. We woke up yesterday morning ready to start the day anew and fresh. And as soon as we got out to the vehicle and got everything loaded up and turned it on, lo and behold, the tire pressure is even lower than it was the day before.
It's down at 24 psi. It's like, oh no.
So we drive back to the lab.
No, we were able to go down to the West Glacier ice cream shop, and they had an air hose there.
Oh yeah, we filled the
we were able to fill it
back up at the ice cream shop, basically / gas station / outfitter, and then we drove to the Les Schwab, which we had to sit in the parking lot for about 15 or 20 minutes first because they didn't open till 8. But John got in the door right at 8 o'clock, and the guy who had helped us the day before was there, and I guess another guy who...
He's like, yeah, the other guy, whoever it was, one of the mechanics outside, he's like, I knew I should have stayed and fixed that myself, but, it's Friday night and all. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, you gave it to a trainee or something?
We don't really know what that meant. So they pulled the car in and start looking at the tire. We went next door to a gas station because I was getting hangry, and I had a horrible gas station breakfast sandwich and some coffee. And when we got back, the guy said that the tire did not need to be replaced, which was what we were going for basically at that point because we were getting ready to drive 3+ hours through the mountains. But they said that the valve stem core was leaking air, and whoever changed it or did the tire patch on Friday night should have checked this, but didn't check this, and it was leaking air, so they just replaced it, and all is well. So tire crisis averted. We now have perfectly fine tires. So we left there, and then we drove to the Garnet Ghost Town, which was really neat. One building in the ghost town, which was a hotel, I think it was called the Wells Hotel. I just got the heaves while we were in there. Like, my spidey senses were tingling. Like, I did not want to be in that building. When I went all the way up to the top. I felt like nauseous and sick.
She kept accusing me of farting because she was smelling sulfur.
It smelled like a raunchy fart, and he swore he was not farting, so there was definitely a ghost in there. I'm going to review the footage. I'm pretty sure there's going to be orbs because there were ghosts in that thing. I felt it. It was like the dentist basement. John was laughing at me. I am serious. It was haunted AF. So it was really cool, though. Everything about the little town was cool. There was like a little ranger lady sitting in the visitor center.
Well, she was like I guess just an employee of the Bureau of Land Management. She wasn't a ranger or anything because they don't really have
I
that.
think she lives there.
Well, she does. There was
By herself.
And to put this into reference, this ghost town is up a dirt road that is heavily washed out and rutted up a mountain.
It was scary.
12-foot wide,
to get
chiseled
there.
into the side of this mountain. Various places it had washed out, sides fell off. Horrible road, but sketchy to begin with. But still, even though it may only be, 30 miles? It took like an hour to drive this road.
And thank God the tire was taken care of because...
Well, and there was parts that we couldn't go more than 5 miles an hour.
It was crazy.
You know?
It was really crazy. And then the way back down was also really crazy.
Yeah.
It was a different road to get back down.
Yeah, because it just so happened that this went up over the mountain, and that's the direction that we were heading anyway. So when we left, we took the other direction, which the other direction, apparently it was primarily used by active mining operations of still active gold. There was boulders everywhere on the road, so you have to swerve around them, and I think it was just due to these mining trucks, you know, kicking up or losing ore as they hauled it down this haul road. So it was it was maintained enough for a huge dump truck with 6-foot tires, but not necessarily for a passenger vehicle. But we made it down. It was hairy. I had it in low gear, going about 5 to 10 mile an hour for almost an hour just to get down this mountain. But it was neat. We got to see several active mines along the way, other mining equipment that had been abandoned and stuff. But it was neat.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That was fun. Fun little day outing. We definitely felt it, though. The altitude up there was higher than we had been at any point in Glacier. And so walking around this little ghost town, we could not breathe.
Up in Glacier, the pass was at the roadway was like 6,300.
I think so.
And when we took the Hidden Lake Overlook Trail,
You went up to like 71, 7,200.
you know, and we were getting a little bit out of breath with the hike and stuff there. And it seems like everywhere we go, we just keep going up and up.
Yeah, now we're at where we are right now.
Well, right now, let's see if you can read that.
710.
Yep.
Yeah, it's high.
High.
Or high up there. It's hard to breathe. And poor John is congested. Something, you know,
it is what it is.
as per usual. But so anyway, after we left the Garnet Ghost Town, we were on our way to Phillipsburg. There were a couple of reasons that we were staying in Phillipsburg. Number one, because now we're the Phillips family. Number two, it has the largest candy store west of the Mississippi. And number three, there was this fun little place where you could mine your own sapphires because it's an old sapphire mine town. So once we got
put another log on the fire
to Phillipsburg, you know, there's a lot of things I could say about it. At first, you know, we just went down the historic little main street downtown, and it was really cute. It's like all these little cute boutique-y, arty, kind of like Big Fork, kind of like historic downtown Big Fork, like little art galleries and stores and coffee shops and like taproom, microbrewery type things and restaurants, and it was really, really cute. The rest of the town was so random, like so randomly laid out. You know, houses kind of just facing in all different directions and painted in really strange colors, and roads that don't line up in the way that any normal city would line up, and some roads
cattywampus
that
everywhere.
are not even roads. I don't know what you would take to drive down these, everybody's driving around the town on four-wheelers and side-by-sides. Like, that's
Yeah.
their actual mode of transportation. Nobody drives cars.
It was like when you watch one of those Alaska shows on Discovery Channel, and they're off in some native Inuit town, and it's all these ramshackle houses of different colors and different shapes and sizes, and everyone's on four-wheelers driving around. That's the way this was.
And from, I mean, a mile away from the town, you can see just this little cluster of town nestled into the side of a mountain. It's like, oh, from far away, this is going to be so cute. And then we got up and saw the cute little downtown, and then we got back into the neighborhood, because it was really just
houses,
one,
yeah.
and it was just strange.
Like everything from yurts to traditional 1- and 2-story houses to things with like turrets and just weird funkiness of designs. There was an airplane in somebody's yard that
with a mannequin hanging out of it. I don't know.
had no engine.
We could go on and on about this. It was just really kind of bizarre.
And it was the county seat. That's where the sheriff's department and the county courthouse, all that was. It was the biggest town in the county, and it had 800 people.
It was tiny. It was really tiny. I don't know. I told John while we were driving around it, I said, just something is off. Like, I just can't put my finger on it. Like, something weird happens here at nighttime, or there's like I don't know. I could not, something was off. So, anyway.
You felt like Malachi was going to come up walking to you.
Yeah, it was just something was off. So, anyway, we, explored and checked things out, and then we went to the Kaiser House, which is where we were staying, which was actually really neat. Fun fact, Kaiser House was founded by, I can't remember what the guy's name was.
Something Kaiser.
Yeah, and he was in charge. He founded the Phillipsburg Water Company. Neat. And they had, it was, restored and, like original looking, flooring and things like that. And they had, old letters and different things kind of displayed throughout. It was a really neat place. I don't have anything bad to say about
No,
Kaiser
we stayed
House.
in the mural room.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's only 3 rooms in the Kaiser House. Our room was called the mural room because the walls were all painted in a mural, and it was cute. I liked it. It was precious. The other rooms were called Red Man Room and Chinaman Room, or Chinese Room. A touch racist. It's okay. A little weird. There was another couple staying there that was there for their anniversary. They did not really want anything to do with us, and that's okay. We saw them out later in the night. Whatever. So we got all of our bags into the hotel and then decided we were going to go out and have a couple of drinks and dinner.
Went to the brewery.
Well, no. Hold on. Let's go back. Like I said at the beginning of Phillipsburg, there were 3 reasons that we went to Phillipsburg. Number 1, it's called Phillipsburg. Number 2, giant candy store that's closed on Saturdays? What? Okay. And number 3, to mine for sapphires, because we thought this would be such a fun little experience. So after we dump all the stuff in the hotel, we walked down to one of these sapphire mining places.
Wow, that was
hardcore. One of these sapphire mining places, and they see you coming. I probably could have justified this if we had taken like 2 children there and we needed to entertain them for a couple hours, but it was like $60 to $100 for them to give you a bag of dirt
that may or may not contain sapphires that they had to put in it. It wasn't even like ore that was mined.
No, it was literally a bag of dirt. And then you had to pay like $15 to rent the wash pan, and then if you wanted
you could pay more to have guarantee fines in your dirt.
Right.
Of fossils.
Well, that's what I'm saying. $60 was like have this bag of dirt, and $100 was like have this bag of dirt. It's probably gonna have a fossil in it and maybe a sapphire, but the sapphire's probably not going to be gem quality even after heat treated, and it only costs you $12 for us to evaluate whether or not your sapphires should be heat treated. And if they should be heat treated, it's only going to cost you $175 for us to heat treat it.
And
we'll
then what's
send
the
it to
point in
mail.
heat treating it unless you have it cut? So
Right.
then we'll cut and facet it for you.
Yeah, it was a racket. It was a racket. So we did not mine for sapphires.
Well, they reeled some suckers in though, man.
There were people doing it. I was kind of surprised after we walked through, but whatever.
The crazy thing was there was 2 different businesses doing the exact same thing directly across the street from one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of them was clearly more popular. Like there was definitely more people.
Well, the other one had the creepy girl.
Yeah, okay, let's go back there. We saw this girl, I'm going to say she was in her early 20s, multiple times throughout the day and evening in Phillipsburg, and every time we saw her, it just got creepier and creepier.
She'd just be staring.
I'm pretty sure she was trying to decide whether or not she should steal some of my organs. I'm serious. Like, she gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, and it was
You're just like looking around, you're looking at the shelves and stuff, and you just kind of all of a sudden just feel something here, and you're like this, and she's just standing like this.
So creepy. Super creepy.
It happened multiple times. Even when we drove by, she'd like come out on the street.
Stopping on the corner. Okay. So we didn't mine for sapphires. The candy store was closed on Saturday. So we said, hell with it. We're just going to get some drinks and dinner. So we went, excuse me, hiccup, to the tap room first. I don't remember what
it was a brewery.
Called.
Phillipsburg Brewery, I think.
Phillipsburg Brewing Company. And they had a vault and a tap, like 2 separate businesses 2 blocks away from each other, owned by the same people doing the same thing. Okay. In Montana, apparently, microbreweries and tap rooms, there's a law that they're only allowed to serve 48 ounces of beer per person per day. So they give you tickets. So I had 2 beers and John had 3 beers, and it was good.
Yeah. It's good beer.
Walked across the street where we had dinner, which was pretty much like chicken wings and nachos, and I had some bean soup that pretty much tasted like Steak and Shake chili, but it was really good. And then we left there and decided there was a little bar up the road that looked like our jam. Like this.
Definitely a dive bar.
A dive bar.
But we figured we could talk to locals and, just to kind of find out about the area, hear some stories.
There's a sign outside
We
of
talked to some, not direct locals, but we talked to some that were more local than us.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let's back up. There's a sign out that said Montana's best voted #1 clip joint. So we had to ask a couple of people what a clip joint is. Apparently that's what they call a dive bar here, is a clip joint. So we walked in and again, we ordered a couple beers and we're talking to the bartender. Her name was Mel. She was
a train wreck.
She was so Granite City. Like this thing. She was like, this was the Granite City of Montana, I think. Phillipsburg had a little Granite City quality to it. Also, it should be noted that Phillipsburg is in Granite County, so everybody kept saying they were in the GC. It made me feel right at home. I was really having a good time after a few beers and meeting people. And I was like, this is so fun. This is exactly what we wanted, so we can get some stories and meet some people. And then it just went from like 6 to midnight weirdness level. We are talking to this guy, gets out of a van and comes in and just immediately walks up and, oh, hey, how are you guys? Where are you from? And we're like, cool, awesome, locals. And we start talking to him. And within 3 minutes of talking to him,
less than that, 30 seconds.
He starts busting out these cell phone pictures and he's asking us what we know about the Golden Circle and Norse mythology.
And the government.
And the government's conspiracy and how it's intertwined with aliens and what the aliens have to do with all of the gemstones in the area. And we're just kind of like looking at each other without looking at each other. Like, Okay, this is interesting. So he pulls out the cell phone pictures, and he's got a picture that he's clearly just taken of the moon, filtered through some trees, and he zooms in. He's like, "Y'all see this face? This face is the face of blah 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 blah," which is somebody from Norse mythology. And he's like, "But the part that's effed up about it, when I zoom in here,
On
his
the beard.
beard is made of alien skulls." This is when we were like, all right. And so then he starts showing us like videos that he has that says it's these green spaceship orbs flying at him out in the woods. This guy and his twin brother travel around the country chinking cabins and just camp. They don't have like a home.
His brother just got out of prison.
Mm-hmm. We found that out. We'll get there. So, he's showing us these videos, and we were like, you know, wow.
We weren't asking. He just kept showing.
Well, at one point, though, we were like, you know, were you scared? What do you do in a situation like that? And he's like, I ain't got nothing to be scared about. I got the hammer of Thor. And he pulls out this necklace.
The Thor hammer. I got the hammer of
Hammer of Thor. He said he was royalty from Denmark, but also in the same sentence said that his mom was a lounge singer in Reno. Like, I don't know what, it got weird. So we walk away from that guy kind of after a few minutes of this weirdness, and we get a couple more drinks, and then we're talking to some seemingly normal people. Another guy sits down next to us, and he has SS tattoos on his neck. Okay, that was interesting, but, you know, he was not even the main problem of the evening. So let's fast forward maybe a half hour. We walk outside to call Joe because at this point now we've had a couple of beers, and we were like, oh, we miss our friend. We need to tell him about this dive bar that we're at, because that's like our favorite thing to do is go to dive bars. So we call Joe. We're sitting on a bench talking to Joe when the Norse mythology hammer of Thor alien guy comes back out, and he's like, how y'all doing? He starts talking to us, and then the next thing you know, we're like, oh, we're on the phone. This is our buddy Joe. And he's like, oh, you ain't friends with any of them N-words, are you? And we were like, what? And then, I mean, this just went, we are saying no words, and then it just zooms right off into him talking about how the Fourth Reich is coming and how all of the other races are ruining America. And then his brother walks out, and he's like, his brother says something about like Sieg Heil, and then he's talking about how he needs to go back in the bar and beat this guy up because he thought that he was trying to hit on his old lady, and he wasn't trying to hit on his old lady because he doesn't have to hit on anybody, because if he wants a woman, he just takes a woman. And then he started talking about how they both had been to prison and how they don't like to start any trouble, but they'll finish it, and how the N-words like to bust out guns, and they don't need to do that because they just have knives and axes in their fists. And again, started talking about the Aryan Brotherhood and the amount of time that they had spent in prison.
They both had like SS and AB tattoos on them.
And then the brother asked him if he would go in and help him take care of this guy that was getting angry with him for hitting on his girlfriend. But first they needed to stop at their van to smoke meth. So, what? Like, John and I are just at this point, like, literally, we're sitting on a bench like this, and they're standing in front of us, and we're just like,
I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then John's like, well, it sounds like your brother needs some help, man. You better get in there and, I don't know. And we just put our cups down and stood up and physically ran across the street and down the road to our hotel and went in and locked the door immediately and just stared at each other. Like, so now within a 27-hour period, we've been accosted by Native Americans trying to break into our car, and then I don't know what you would call the situation that we got into, meeting neo-Nazis.
Yeah, apparently about ready to become known associates of neo-Nazis. I don't know.
Neo-Nazis who were smoking meth in a van and talking about the time that they had spent in prison, and also aliens. We've decided for the rest of the trip we don't really need to meet anyone. We're just gonna we're just going to enjoy each other's company and the sights. Because holy moly. So that was last night. Today, we got up and got ready and packed everything up. And I didn't feel awesome because of the altitude.
It was the altitude.
It gave us headaches. The altitude.
Yeah. Oh, we did have a nice mini bottle of champagne when we got back to our room.
Oh, yeah, that was really nice. The lady left us a bottle of champagne. We rushed.
Somehow it was empty this morning when we woke up, though.
Weird. The altitude hurt my head. Anyway, so we got up and we got some coffees and then we went to the candy store, but I couldn't even stand to be in the candy store because the sickly sweet smell of the over 1,000 types of candy. Again, I just wasn't feeling good because of the altitude. So we couldn't.
And they were pulling taffy and everything else.
Yeah, it was really neat. And they had fudge and different kinds of bark and every kind of licorice and every kind of jelly bean and every kind of sucky candy and jawbreaker and everything ever.
It was like a Mr. Bulky times 5.
But like old westerny, like wood boxes and like old school candy jars, and it was really
like
neat.
apothecary cabinets.
Yeah, it was really
full
neat.
of stuff.
Like floor to ceiling, all the candy, every kind of candy you could ever dream of. So that was neat. We didn't buy any of it. I felt bad about that later, so I got some.
We did stop at the bakery down the street.
Yeah, we did.
The bakery down the street. I got a donut and a
blueberry strudel.
Strudel?
Whatever, some kind of pastry.
It was good.
I got a 7-Up.
Because of the altitude.
Because of the altitude headache that I had going on. So we left, and then we were going to Granite Ghost Town.
Yes.
Which was just up a mountain from Phillipsburg. Now,
an additional 1,200 foot in elevation.
When you're entering this road, it specifically says,
not well maintained.
Travel at your own risk.
Narrow.
No road maintenance, narrow, steep, loose gravel. And, the altitude made me sick. So I was thinking, this is a good idea. So we're going up this road a really long way. Like a really long way.
Having to go, almost off the road on one side to almost off the road on the other side where there is no off the road. It's cliff.
With these huge washouts.
Because of the washouts, washouts that you couldn't drive through.
Yeah, in the middle of the road.
And once you started going up,
there was no turning back.
There was no way to turn around.
You were going. It was happening. So after I white knuckled the seat all the way up, we made it, and it was a little disappointing because this one is not well preserved.
This was left to the ravages of nature.
Yeah. So they have a visitor center, but the visitor center was like a plywood board.
And buckshot holes in it.
And it just said visitor center at the top, and then it had like a map compartment with no maps in it. Like clearly nobody had been there to maintain anything
within years.
Years and years. So we walked around for a minute and saw what there was to see. But again, not to get back on this, but it kind of gave you the heaves because we kept finding like random articles of clothing, but not from like the ghost town era. Like the kind where
last year.
Right. Like from freaking Dateline. Like we were ready to, I thought we were going to stumble upon a body.
Because this was remote.
So remote.
You could fire guns and nobody would hear it.
This was
miles and miles remote.
The type of situation, again, where not to be dramatic, but easily somebody could just kill you and leave you there, and nobody would have any idea that we were gone until we didn't show up at the airport.
Throw you down one of the hundreds of mine shafts that were right there.
It was a little creepy. We're up there by ourselves. Like I said, we saw what there was to see, and then as we started coming back down, there are people coming up, but it's obviously not tourists, like families. It's all random men. And there were these random Freemason pedestals throughout the ghost town. I don't know. It was another thing that...
Like hidden symbols. Like they weren't like prominently displayed. They were all hidden.
It was another one of these
we
things
happened
where
to
I just
stumble
was
across.
like, something weird is going on here. Like this isn't just like a boys club where they're just coming up here to, I don't know. It was weird. I did not.
Malachi.
Yeah, I did not want to get stuck or stopped or encounter any of these people, and I shouldn't be that way. They were probably all nice, normal people.
Well, heck, that was the thing that motivated us to get back to the car so quick was we heard all the engines of these like 4-wheelers and side by sides or whatever
coming up
the road, and it sounded like they're coming from all directions, which they were coming from all directions up this mountain together. So we got into that Suburban and we headed on back down, but man, there was really the other 2 roads that were up there. There's no way a normal vehicle, could have traversed them.
No.
Not even like a Jeep with big tires.
So we made it back down that mountain, and then we started driving from Phillipsburg to the town of Anaconda, Montana, which is a
fun fact, which was the largest copper smelter in the world at one point in time.
They built a smokestack that is the largest freestanding brick structure, tallest freestanding brick structure
in the world.
It's just out in the middle of nowhere where there used to be this giant smelter, whatever complex that only operated for like less than a decade and then got shut down.
Well, no, it operated from like 1902 till 1980. It shut down.
Oh, maybe I read something different. It seemed like not that long for the amount of time and money that went into making this thing. So I guess after they shut it down and started tearing down the complex, the town like revolted that they needed to keep this smokestack, and they made it into a state park.
Yeah. So the town was a company town founded by this Anaconda smelting company. That they were building this huge smelter there. They needed railroad workers, they needed mine workers, and they needed smelter workers.
Yeah.
So they built this town and staffed it and everything else. Town was decent. It was actually decent size. It was like 9,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
But this
they had like actual like not corporate like businesses, but like McDonald's. They had like a McDonald's there, whereas everywhere else that we've been so far just only had like little mom and pop things, which is cute and quaint, but like also Mama just wanted some chicken nuggets, okay? Like so we found McDonald's and that's where we had lunch. But after we visited the smokestack state park,
it was a 12-sided base structure that was 75-foot diameter, and the inner opening of the smokestack that went up all the way was 60-foot diameter.
It was huge, and they had
huge.
So
585 feet tall.
From the viewing point, they had this 12-sided thing they built basically to show you like you walked around the inside to show you the size of how big it actually is, since you can't get up to the actual smokestack. And then each side kind of had its own little informational board. I mean, really, it was very nice. Like they put some effort into it. It was just so random. So random.
I just kept seeing this smokestack in the distance, and there's nothing coming out of it. And I'm like, man, that must be a defunct power plant or something. And I'm looking on Google Maps, and it shows up, says Anaconda Smokestack State Park.
Anaconda Stack State Park.
Yeah. Well, I said, well, we're definitely stopping and seeing this.
They had the little, what was the thing I got in? The bucket thing.
Oh, that's like the ladles that took the smelted copper and moved it from place to place in the plant to pour, the anodes.
They had these all over the place. Like some of them had flowers coming out. They were huge. I got in one. We took a picture.
I mean, what? 9-foot, 10-foot diameter?
Yeah.
And probably the same amount deep?
Yeah. Really, really large. Really big. So, yeah, we saw what there was to see in Anaconda. We went to a gas station. We went to McDonald's. We went to a car wash because the car, from visiting the 2 ghost towns and driving the treacherous mountain roads and whatnot, it
was so dirty. We were getting dirty getting in and out of it.
Like you couldn't, be within 10 feet of the car without just being filthy dirty. So we went and washed the car. And then we were on our way driving from Anaconda to well, Big Sky, but
Good
we
hero.
stopped in. So we hit the laundromat and did all of our dirty laundry, which was another first for us. We've never been to a laundromat together. I've done a lot of laundromatting in my life. John is a princess and he has not.
I mean, I remember going to a laundromat, but I've never utilized a laundromat.
We got a little
I mean, I knew how they worked, but
overzealous cashing in the change, so we may or may not, but definitely do have $20 in quarters now. So I can't wait to see what we're gonna pay for with that. Just the first person that makes us mad is getting paid in quarters.
bunch of squish pennies.
But we did get all of our laundry done, and that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can start off our Yellowstone week with all of our clothes fresh. So it's like starting over a whole new vacation now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After the laundry, we drove here and got settled in and ate dinner.
Beautiful drive coming in here.
Really nice. And now we're here. And I'm about ready for bed.
Tomorrow we leave here in Big Sky.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a little bit of a trip through Yellowstone and see the sights, and we'll obviously talk to you tomorrow about that. But we'll be ending up the day at a tiny house that we rented in the town of Gardner.
It's supposed to be 3 blocks from the entrance, the northern entrance into Yellowstone, so that should be really convenient. But we are really excited. It's like 500 square feet, little tiny house, but it's got a full kitchen and I don't know. I mean, I guess it's basically like its own little freestanding thing. We can't tell from a map whether or not it's in someone's backyard.
Yeah,
it might be in someone's backyard, but whatever.
Whatever.
As long as
we'll be there for 3 days
to meet those people, because I don't want to meet anyone else. I'm a people person, but we've not had good encounters so far. It's been weird. It's been really
well.
weird.
Besides those 2 people,
everybody else I guess was nice.
And the Malachi-looking girl.
Yeah, the proprietor of the Kaiser house. She was very nice. She might have been drunk or high.
She might have been drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
That's probably why she ran a wine store.
Yeah.
Because she was, even in the morning.
Yeah. She was feeling some type of way. She was nice. The lady from our cabin in Kalispell was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that we dealt with for the wedding was really nice. But yeah, when we were meeting these locals, it's been strange. It's been really strange and just uncomfortable. And so it's no longer my mission to meet the locals. Just gonna see what happens.
Yep.
So
until tomorrow, we'll talk to you later.